What is up, awesome peeps? Brent McCluskey here with Electrified Reviews, and today we are reviewing the Manta5 Hydrofoiler XE-1 water bike. Okay, so the Manta5 XE-1, we'll just call it the XE-1 for short, is a very unique electric water bike. I think that's the most appropriate name for it because it looks like an electric bike, but basically is on the water, as you guys can clearly see. Now, one of the things that makes this bike incredibly unique, besides the fact that you can take it in the water, is that instead of just floating on top of the water, it uses hydrofoil technology to actually get most of the bike out of the water, and so it rests on the hydrofoils that are basically just a few inches beneath the water. It reduces the amount of drag, increases efficiency, and allows you to go faster and further with less power, which is obviously what you want when you have an electric vehicle like this. Now, starting with the specs on this bike, this thing is going to have a 460 watt motor that uses a drive shaft to turn the propeller that is submerged beneath the water. So if you have ridden any electric bike before, this is going to feel, or any bike in general, this is going to feel right at home because it's the same type of thing. You're just pedaling like you would any old bike, any electric bike, any regular bike. It still uses pedal power and electric assist to get you going. Now, what's interesting about the Manta5 XE-1 is that it uses what's called a submerged launch. So basically, when you're in the water and at a rest, this bike is actually going to sink quite a bit when you are on it or trying to get on it. And what you have to do is lean forward, put a lot of your weight forward, start pedaling as hard as you can, the motor activates, the propeller starts spinning, you get forward momentum, and as you do, the bike starts to raise up out of the water, and when you reach the critical speed, it'll go up onto the hydrofoils and start propelling it through the water. It's pretty cool. As you guys can see in the videos here, it's pretty maneuverable. Even though it's a water bike, you can see it's able to go kind of left and right. You can actually steer this thing with the hydrofoils. And, you know, the propeller isn't the thing that's steering it. You know, it's not like the propeller is not moving back and forth. You're actually turning, you know, the hydrofoils like it's kind of a rudder beneath the surface of the water. Very cool stuff. Looks like it's a lot of fun to ride. Now, this has a top speed of about 13 miles per hour. Of course, top speed is a little bit difficult to measure when we're talking about a water vehicle compared to a land vehicle because you can't use miles per hour. They use knots, right? But if we're going to convert it, it's going to be about 13 miles per hour is the max speed, which might sound a little bit slow, but it's not that bad, again, considering this thing is cutting through the water, which is pretty impressive. Now, the range for this is going to be about 60 minutes of ride time. It's got a 36 volt, 22 amp hour battery, which is a relatively large capacity battery, and it's something that you're gonna need that much juice because, again, this is gonna take it's gonna be a lot more drag to keep this thing going compared to a traditional electric bike that's on land. We don't have tires for this, so, you know, it's not air resistance we're talking about, it's water resistance. And even though it does raise up on the hydrofoils, it still has a lot of drag. So you want that big battery, 22 amp hours, but even still with that, you're gonna get only about 60 minutes of ride time. Now, what's cool is if you do want to grab an extra battery for this bike, you can, and you can swap them out pretty quickly. So that means that, you know, once you're done, the battery's getting dry, you can ride it back to the shore, swap the batteries out, and keep going if you so desire. It also means you can charge it on the go, leave the bike on the shore, just take out the battery, bring it to your car or whatever, and just charge it back up for a couple hours, and then you can go back out. So very cool stuff. Now, the XE-1 itself is made from aluminum alloy and also carbon fiber. So the fins, the hydrofoils that are beneath the water, that's going to be mostly carbon fiber, and the frame itself is going to be primarily 6061 aluminum alloy. Now, what's pretty interesting is even with this kind of big, cumbersome water bike here, the weight is still only 63 pounds, which is pretty impressive considering all the material that's on this thing. I mean, you guys can see there's just a lot more here than on a traditional electric bike. And the average weight for an electric bike is around 55 pounds or so. This isn't that much heavier, which is good because, look, to get this thing from your truck, from your van, whatever, into the water, I mean, you're gonna have to be carrying this thing and you want it to be a little bit lightweight if possible, because you don't want to be, you know, lugging this whole thing into the water each time. Now, what's also interesting is you can break down the XE-1 into a couple of different pieces, so you can carry the fins separately, you can carry the body separately, and then once you get to the shore, a little bit closer to where you're actually going to put this thing in the water, you can reassemble it, and it makes it a little bit easier just to kind of transport and move this thing around. Again, just like a normal electric bike, this does have a display which gives you kind of the traditional feedback, you know, battery power, what pedal assist mode you're in, how much range is left, speed, stuff like that. So there is a display built in here, which is also very nice because you do want to be able to check how much juice is left in the XE-1, because the last thing you would want is to be, you know, 40 minutes out, you know, and then you're looking at your battery. If you don't know how much you have left, like you don't want to be running out of battery when you're in the middle of the ocean, because could you pedal this thing without the motor and actually get the hydrofoils to engage and, you know, get back home if the battery runs dry? I mean, probably you could, but look, that kind of goes to an interesting point about this bike, and I think that's that in order to ride this bike, I think it requires a level of fitness that's actually a little bit more than just a traditional bike or a traditional electric bike, because as you guys can see in the videos here, getting this thing out of the water with the submerged launch, it does take a little bit of effort, and even with the motor activated, you do have to pedal to keep this thing going. So, you know, a lot of electric bikes, they've got the throttle only. You can just sit there and just kind of hit the throttle and it'll take off and keep going for, you know, 30, 40, 50 miles, whatever, depending on the battery size. This one, though, it does take a little bit more effort, and so it's just interesting. You know, I think it requires a little bit higher level of fitness, so just something to kind of keep in mind with this bike right here, the XE-1. So that brings us to the price of the Manta5 Hydrofoiler XE-1, and that is $7,490 USD, which is a pretty penny. That is a very expensive watercraft. It's just a very expensive vehicle in general. And really, it's interesting because this is kind of different than a lot of the stuff that we have reviewed before, because this is not really a commuter vehicle. This isn't really a practical vehicle in a lot of senses. It's really kind of geared towards having fun. This is going to be a vehicle for water enthusiasts who have money to spare and who want to have fun on the water. Maybe you already have a jet ski, maybe you already have a boat, and you're like, I want something else that maybe I can get a little bit more exercise on, but still kind of go in the water. And this is going to be right up your alley if that's what you're looking for. This is going to fit the bill like 100%. And it's cool because, I mean, this thing it really is a world first. Look, the company Manta5 builds this vehicle as the world's first hydrofoil electric bike, and I think they're right. I've never seen anything like this before. Having the hydrofoil is just, it's really unique, and I think that adds a lot to the kind of cool factor of this vehicle of, look, not only are you having fun and getting a workout, but you're also turning heads and you're owning something that really nobody else in the world is going to have. I think they're only making like 250 of these for the first batch, maybe 250 in general, so it's not going to be a whole lot of these things on the water. Yeah, so just kind of a different philosophy of use than what we are used to reviewing here on Electrified Reviews. Nonetheless, this is definitely a very, very cool vehicle, and again, if that's what you're looking for, if you want something to have fun on the water, you've got extra money to spend, you're probably already going to have a boat, you probably already have, you know, maybe like an RV or a truck to tow something like this with, this is going to fit that bill for you. So look, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic holiday season, and I will catch you all next time.